California Congressman Jimmy Gomez joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Congressman, glad to have you here. Here's
Thank
what
you
we
for having me.
know. First and foremost, Donald Trump made no effort at all to alert the Big Eight or the Group of Eight on Capitol Hill. Now, apparently, he was talking to Republicans, not talking to Democrats. He's decided he can do whatever he wants. He doesn't need to talk to Congress. He needs no authorization. And so his whole deal is, what the hell? I'll do it to Venezuela, and I'll do it to Colombia. I'll do it to Cuba. I'll do whatever it is I want to do.
No, that's absolutely what occurred. Donald Trump is engaging in a foreign policy that he believes should not be bound by the rules of law. He doesn't believe it should be bound by Congress, and he can do whatever he wants whenever he wants. That's why this whole situation smells and stinks to high heaven, because every
Mm-hmm.
time he tried to come up with the fact pattern that says, hey, this is why we're doing it, it changes. At first, it was about drugs. Remember, he was saying it's all about drugs and these speedboats and that they're narco terrorists and that Maduro is directing Train de Agua in the United States. And that's why they were going to use the Alien Enemies Act, to deport Venezuelans back to Venezuela. But then all of a sudden they invade and take Maduro out. And now it's not just about Maduro being a drug trafficker. It's about the oil. It's about making sure that we have access to minerals, making sure that United States controls that country. So that's the whole thing, is that he's trying to find legal justifications for his actions based on facts that are not necessarily there. So that's why people have to have Congress involved, because Congress is where the people's real representatives are. And we make decisions on the fact that he's sending men and women in uniform that are not Republican or Democrat, but they're Americans, into harm's way. But he doesn't seem to care about that. He doesn't care about the facts, and he doesn't care about the consequence of his actions.
Now, let's be clear. I don't know of anybody who says, sure, go right ahead, bring drugs into the United States. But this is where it gets confusing. So now all of a sudden, Trump and Rubio are concerned about drugs when Donald Trump literally last month pardoned the former president of Honduras, who not only was indicted, he was convicted in a federal courtroom, sentenced to 45 years in prison in the White House. But he goes, oh, well, the Biden Department of Justice treated a man named Trump so badly. They treated this man so badly. And so how can you all of a sudden say you care about drugs and a Latin American country, but you let that Honduran president off?
You can't. That's why it's a complete bullshit, because he's trying to justify his actions. He's saying it's about drugs, but he lets off the Honduran president. He says that they're treated poorly. That's his excuse. But we know that that's not true. He was convicted in a court of law. But then remember, he was saying that it was these speedboats bringing up fentanyl. And then when that excuse fell apart, because most fentanyl enters the United States at ports of entry carried by American citizens, not foreigners, by American citizens, then he switched and said it's about the cocaine. And in order to dry up the money, because cocaine is the main money maker for any of these cartels. However, most cocaine doesn't enter through the Caribbean. So he was lying to the American people from the get-go that it was about drugs. He had an objective. We knew this from, we had hunches of this as members of Congress, not from any kind of special reporting, but just the way that this administration acts to all its neighbors in the Western Hemisphere. We had a feeling that he was going to target Venezuela since last year after he got elected, because we know the way he thinks. He believes that the United States should have domination over all these other countries. So he says it's about drugs, but then he releases the Honduran president who was convicted. He says it's about drugs, but then most of the drugs don't come up from the Caribbean. They come up through Mexico or through the Pacific. So we know that this was just a pretext to create some kind of regime change that would be more friendly to the United States, not necessarily a new regime, but something that's more friendly that will let them get oil companies back into Venezuela, and in order to also go after the minerals that we need as a country. We do need them, but that's not the way we should go after them. So one of the things is he just has consistently lied to the American people why he's doing this.
Yeah, I mean, he's a liar. I mean, bottom line, he lies and he lies and he lies. Then he comes out and he says, "Oh yeah, we were talking with the oil companies before. We're going to go in and get our oil." And let's deal with that
Okay.
because here's the thing. I think people need to understand something here, and that is this here: Venezuela is a sovereign nation. So are African nations. So is Brazil. So is Cuba. So is on and on. And so what Trump and MAGA and Republicans are saying is we can do whatever we want, when we want, damn your country, damn your borders and your laws. If there's something that we want, we will take it by force. That's literally this is colonialism. This is imperialism. This is what the United States and Britain and the French have done for centuries.
And it's something that a lot of us who are involved in politics have been trying to change since we've been involved. The reason why is because the United States, when we actually build coalitions, do things in a way that will support countries, that is how we put America first. The way that he's doing it, trying to go back to the old imperialistic ways, that makes the United States weaker. It also gives a green light to China and to Putin and Russia. To one of the things is that to go in against their neighbors, China to Taiwan, Russia to Ukraine and Estonia, and a lot of the former Soviet satellite states. So all of a sudden, we don't have the moral high ground to stand on, and it gives them a green light to violate not only those other sovereign states, but to say that, hey, if the United States did it, so can we.
The thing that gets me is this here. What the hell are your Republican colleagues saying? I mean, surely these people will be yelling, howling, screaming if Biden or Obama just said, to hell with Congress, I'm going to do what I want to do. And they're just kind of like, okay, go right ahead. We support it. It's great. It's wonderful. We're just going to sit here and take a back seat. I mean, are they saying one thing privately and something else publicly?
Not that I've heard of. And that's because a lot of these folks just fall straight in line when it comes to Donald Trump and when it comes to whatever he wants. They forget that they're members of Congress. They forget that they actually on an independent branch of government. So they don't actually say something different. And that's the scary part, because a lot of them do have these kind of tendencies. What they need to understand is that this is not just about Maduro. This is not just about Venezuela. It's about how do we make the United States safer? How do we make it more prosperous? Because that's what the Americans care about. Remember, Donald Trump said no more foreign wars. He's going to be the most transparent president in U.S. history, that he was going to make sure that he was going to put America first. But everything that Donald Trump has done against his own base is, one, put foreign countries first, make it all about the billionaires, make it all about people that are well connected at the expense of the working class. So the Republicans should care, but they absolutely don't. And they're not saying anything separate to me, especially I serve on the Ways and Means Committee, but also on the House Intelligence Committee. They haven't expressed any concern. And that's the shocking part, because they should be concerned, because they're getting cut out of the process. And that's why I think you have like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who is most of the time out of her mind, but she even said, I'm done with Donald Trump because I'm not here just to rubber stamp whatever he wants. So that's one of the issues, is that's what Republicans do. And that's when they do that, our system of government does not work by any means.
All right. So the question I keep giving people, okay, fine. What's next? What can Democrats do? You don't control the House. You don't control the Senate. Donald Trump doesn't even give a damn about talking to Republicans. And the Republicans are trying to frame this as, oh, look at the Democrats. They're trying to protect and coddle a drug dealing Venezuelan president. How do y'all respond? What do you say to the public?
Well, one of the things that Maduro was a dictator. He stole an election in 2024, and that we know that a lot of the Venezuelan people are happy that he's gone, especially the ones that fled. The 6 million that fled. The 600,000 Venezuelans are in the United States under TPS, temporary protected status. Now, one of the things that they should keep in mind, now that they had a military action in Venezuela, they can cut a deal with Venezuela and say, hey, you know what? We're going to leave in charge all his buddies, and you guys are going to accept the oil companies to come back in. Plus, you're going to accept all the TPS holders living in the United States, because we're going to deport them and you have to accept their return. So that's one of the things, is that we want to kind of point out that that's going to happen. Additionally, we have to have a vote on a war powers resolution, or have Congress vote on authorization to have military action and also conflict in Venezuela. Because one of the things we want to make sure that the American people know, that the Republicans own the mess that will be caused if everything goes sideways, because that's what's about. They're going to try to say that they didn't know about it, that, you know, not enough time passed. We got to trust the president. No, the Republican Party needs to be on the hook for whatever goes down, and that's one process. It doesn't mean it's the last step. It means it's the beginning. And if Donald Trump thinks he's going to be able to get a free pass if the Democrats take the majority in 2026, he's sadly mistaken.
Well, I keep making it clear to people, if you do not show up and vote, this man will be left to do whatever the hell he wants to do, whenever he wants to do it. There should be congressional oversight. And I dare say this election in November is more critical than any that we face. I know people keep saying that, but I have been screaming that from the rooftops. I mean, this fool is talking about invading Mexico. The Supreme Court has said, oh, he pretty much has immunity to do whatever he wants to do. They've given him the green light. And so the thug in chief is literally focused on saying, I will invade, I will overthrow, I will use this military. He's got that idiot Pete Hegseth in charge of the Secretary of Defense. And frankly, what they're going to do is they've weeded out so many generals and other people who oppose their efforts. And so I wouldn't be surprised if they are already planning attacks on other countries to do the exact same thing.
You're absolutely right. One of the things that we know is that Donald Trump is willing to use the National Guard and the Marines in ways that nobody has ever used them before, and in a broader scope. So when they started with the ICE raids in LA, especially sending the National Guard and the Marines, I warn people, this is going to spread. And this is not just about ICE raids. This is about normalizing military troops in our cities. So if all of a sudden he says that the elections were stolen and that we're at war with somebody, to justify being able to send troops into the blue states or the blue cities in the red states to control the population. This is about lowering everybody's guard. And why that's dangerous, because what happens if all of a sudden there's a disputed elections during the presidential election in 2028? State sets multiple, 2 or more slate of electors, and then all of a sudden nobody gets 270 electoral college votes. Then all of a sudden the election gets kicked to the House of Representatives. It becomes one state, one vote. There are more Republican states than Democratic states. They win without ever firing a shot. So we're playing for keeps. This is not a joke. So this next election is serious. We got to win this election so that we hold the gavel. Hakeem Jeffries is the one determining what electors are sat or not. So this is what it's about. It's about 2028, making sure that we can control the process. Because if we don't, then Donald Trump, even from his grave, will make sure that the Democrats don't have another president for another 10 to 15 years.
Absolutely. Congressman Jimmy Gomez, we appreciate you joining us on the show. This is going to be an ongoing issue, so you're certainly welcome to come back anytime. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.